Hi, and welcome to another episode of Not an Island Podcast. We have a really, really cool one for you today. Today, we have the distinct opportunity of interviewing some new friends of ours, Ima and Marcus Carnelus. I hope I said that right. But we are interviewing them. They have an amazing story, and I'm going to let Amanda share a little bit about who they are and their backstory. And you'll get to see it in the full episode coming up pretty quick.
Yes. So we wouldn't even know who they were if it weren't for the the fast that we were just on in the month of October. The past 2 years, the Lord has led us to fast and do like an extended Daniel fast and media fast. And last year, out of that fast, the podcast was actually birthed. That God gave us confirmation that it was time to start doing some of these things that He had put in our heart. And so this year, as we were fasting, I was struggling, to be honest. I was like, we have to make it through this entire month, and we're eating only vegetables and fruit and water. And I was like, I need some recipes. And so I hit up Miss Tabitha Brown's social media. She always has the most incredible recipes. She is a vegan. I don't know how many of you know who she is, but she has some really great recipes. So if you're ever on a Daniel fast and you need good recipes, Miss Tabitha Brown is the one. So anyhow, I went to her page looking for a recipe because we're on a media fast. So we're technically not watching anything, listening to anything. Like our goal was 0 screen time. And I got on for a recipe, and immediately the first thing that was there, it was posted that day. It had just been posted, I think, within minutes of me getting on. It said, the title was like a miraculous story of a family to a child with autism. And I was like, this is not a coincidence. Like, this is wild. So I was like, okay, God, I think this is you. I'm going to watch this. And so we tuned in. I watched it, and then I sent it to Todd, and our lives were just so blessed by it. We were so moved by this miraculous story of their son, and just, the word of God that was given over them. It just really resonated with our spirits as well and encouraged us. And Todd was like, hey, why don't we reach out to them to see if they want to be on our podcast?
Yeah, and so I straight up just blasted every email I could find of theirs. And lo and behold, guess what? They answered.
Yes, and they're the most kind, generous, and sweet people for coming on our podcast and to share their story. And we just hope that this story will bless so many other families. If you have a NICU baby, their story is very much about during their journey through the NICU and then raising a child with autism. And so hopefully you guys will get a lot out of it.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil it too much, but without further ado, the episode's right here.
Watch it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Not an Island Podcast. I think Marcus was trying to do an intro for us.
Yeah, he had a beat going. I was here for it. I was here for it. That was amazing.
Yeah. But as some of you who may be new to our channel, we are a podcast where family, faith, and autism meet. Yeah. With that being said, we have a family who has an incredible story about faith and autism right here with us. This is Marcus and Ima Carnelus. Did I say your last name right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Some people say it wrong, but you did very well.
Hey, you know what?
He did his research. He's like, I got to get these ones right.
I'm trying to get it right. But yeah, they have an incredible story. I won't steal their thunder or anything, but listen, like if you have not checked into their story, you need to.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So
it blessed us so much.
Yeah, it blessed our hearts. So. I guess to kind of get it started, we saw Mark and Ima on another podcast, on Tabitha Brown's podcast.
Yes.
And man, it was about an hour in, and she gave a word to both of you. And I'm telling you, I know it broke y'all, but it broke me too, because we've gotten that same word from people before. Just hearing, how God chooses us, and I don't know, it comes as a badge of honor. But anyway, I'm talking too much. We want to share your guys. We want to share your stories. So we'll hand the floor to you guys and let y'all kind of explain your story, if it's all right. We'll just start at the beginning and go from there.
Okay. So, as I said, I'm Ima, my husband.
I am Marcus Carnelus.
We have been married going on 10 years. It'll be 10 years in April.
Come on. Congratulations.
Two little ones. Thank you. Jackson and Cameron.
Could have been 18 years, but. But, I'll settle for 10.
I got it.
Yeah, so we had dated, I'm not dated. We went on a date, what was it, like 2007? 2006.
She don't even, you know, this is where we are. She don't even remember the year.
I was going to say 2007. We were friends. 2007, I had turned 21. Came to my birthday party. I had like a 21st birthday. And we just remained friends. There was nothing really more, I guess you could say.
Okay, now I understand his comment fully.
Yeah.
It could have been more.
Yeah, but I kind of put him in the friend zone. I felt like we weren't on the same page when it came to, like me going to church and having a relationship with God.
Right.
And kind of him needing to, grow in his faith, so to speak.
Yeah. No, I got it.
So for me, I just was like,
that was a kind way to put it.
Hey, man. We all got a path, bro.
We all got a process.
And so, what was funny is, like, I knew his mom and one of his sisters through church.
Okay.
Since I was a little girl, I grew up with his younger sister.
Oh my goodness.
And
so you had a foot in anyway.
Yeah, so I met him through his sister, but it just was like, we didn't really take it too far. He was doing music, I was doing music, and it was kind of like, let's kind of work together and stay friends. So we stayed friends through social media, Facebook, and I don't think Instagram was around at that time.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No, what was around? AIM. You remember AIM?
Yes,
bro. MySpace, AIM.
Yeah.
Facebook was a baby at the time.
Chat on AIM, play the little
messages.
Put away messages, all those little things. And then in 2013 is when we kind of like reconnected in a different way. So like I said, we were friends on Facebook, but it was his birthday. And I commented on, like I told him, happy birthday, and commented on the gift that his sister had gotten him. And like, we just were exchanging comments, and then he was like, let's take this to the, direct, to the DM.
Yeah.
A little more personal, man.
Like, nosy, I guess you could say. It was pure, clean, and fun, but it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, we're like having a conversation in comments. Let's just take this somewhere private. So, really.
Yeah, we I think we maybe exchanged updated numbers.
Updated numbers.
And then we talked till like 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm. And it was still just like catching up, but it wasn't like at that moment it wasn't like, this is gonna lead to something else. It took a little bit of time to kind of build that, you know what I mean? Because I was out of a relationship, he was out of a relationship, and so starting something new was, it was big and scary, and
sure.
But it was something I had prayed for. I wanted to be married, I wanted a family, obviously, and I just was in that space of like, all my friends were married, most of them had already had a child, and I was the only one like, where's my husband? He was in my life the whole time.
One thing I don't want to leave out is that back in 2006, I had a huge crush on this young lady. So I think I always like had that crush.
Yeah.
So once we kind of like started talking again 7 years later, like I still had like the crush energy.
Of course.
Yeah.
It never went away. Oh my goodness.
I always tease her, like even to this day, about how like when we say like our son Jackson is like 9, I'm be like, he could have been like 16.
Yeah.
But she was playing.
But yes.
There you go.
It's just like we could have had a 15-year-old or whatever. But God's timing is perfect, and
yes. Amen.
He needed all of the things that we went through separately during that time of just kind of being associates to appreciate each other, know how to love each other. Oh, you build character as you're growing up. So by the time he and I reconnected, it was like, okay, he knew what he wanted, I knew what I wanted, and it was one of those things where we felt like now is the time to.
I love that.
Yeah, and it went pretty quick. It did.
Wait,
what?
Sidebar. When me and her spoke, that was June 30th, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That man's on time.
And she'll remember that there was the job that I was working. There was some young ladies there that was going on like a girls' trip to where they go? Palm Springs.
But prior to that, we did talk on your birthday, right?
Yeah.
June 13th.
Yeah,
okay.
it wasn't June 30th talk.
Okay. Yeah,
June 30th was 6 in the morning talk.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later, all these girls at my job did a girls' trip to Palm Springs. Mm-hmm. And so me and two other guys was kind of like, well, we going too. It's a public place. You can't say that we can't be there.
Yeah. Fancy seeing y'all here.
All right. I'm like, you can't say it. The guys can't come because that's a public place and we can go out.
And it was platonic. It was just like coworkers going out.
I remember we had scheduled to go. The guys, like, we stayed. It was separate. We stayed where we stayed. They stayed at a whole different place. But I remember I kind of was looking at it as a test to see how really attached am I to it. Because obviously I'm going out there single, technically, right? And, anything can happen. You're going to clubs and partying, whatever. But all I could think about that whole trip was, like, getting back home and, like, seeing her. Mm-hmm. And once that trip was over, I was just like, that's not normal. Like a guy that could have just had like so much fun in this whole trip. Yeah. All I could think about was her and getting back home.
Gosh.
And when we got back, we saw each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we went to dinner. Like so or something.
That's how I knew, like,
And this was 2 weeks after we were talking.
I'm off.
So remember, we reconnected, so to speak, on his birthday, which is June 13th. So 2 weeks later, it was just like, and I think, because it's funny, he never really asked me to be his girlfriend. It was more so just like, kind of like, this is what we're doing. Like, I like you, you like me. It's exclusive. And so we picked like, we made up a date of like our dating anniversary. Because we knew it was around that time. So it's July 20th. So, that's pretty fast. Like from reconnecting to exclusive, we dated for a whole year. And then he proposed the day after our 1 year anniversary.
And you wanted to be on your anniversary.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be on our anniversary. I did.
He had to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, he had to keep
me on my toes. I mean, it was a very romantic day. We went to, I think it was in Newport Beach. We went like wine tasting, which we had never done. We rode bikes. We went to the beach, and it was like on the little boardwalk, and watched like just people watched in the sand.
Yeah, for sure.
Ate really good. We went to a beautiful romantic restaurant, like overlooking the whole Newport, and I was like, yes, this is gonna be, because why not, right? Like, that's the perfect setting, and he did not.
And I had the ring.
And he had the ring. And I remember just being like, okay, I thought this was going to happen because, we made it very clear that we wanted to be intentional. Like, we're not just dating to just date.
Wait, you said what?
Be intentional.
Who made it clear?
We.
You made it clear.
Oh.
She's like, I'm not playing. Like, this is either going to end in marriage or...
5 years dating and all that.
We really wanted to do God's way. I didn't want to live together or anything like that. So I just felt like, okay, if we're going to do this. And at that point, it's like, I love you, you love me. We know this is what we want. We know it's probably not going to be the easiest. I come from my parents' divorce when I was 6. His parents are still married. So, just that, like, you deal with childhood trauma and things, and my whole dynamic, like, I've had a lot of trauma. He hasn't really had, childhood trauma. So merging those two lives is like, okay, we have a chance to build our own story.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we went through premarital counseling, which I think is great for everyone. Yep. I'm an advocate for it because it really teaches you how to navigate life as a married couple and get those tools that you need to.
Yeah, tools. Because
we had no idea what was coming our way. Like, we had this whirlwind of a romance. We dated, a year, got engaged. We got married 8 months later. I mean, we were moving, life was moving fast. And so I think having, like, the tools that we got from our counselors was really, really good for us to be able to.
Helpful for sure.
Into a new marriage. Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
Wow. I love just hearing y'all's love story. Yeah. That is so precious.
It's crazy. It's wild. How long was it before you had Jackson that y'all were married? Don't mind me asking.
We was married.
Quick.
Yeah, it was quick. So we got married April 11th.
Yes.
2015, and he was born in July.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was due at the end of the year.
You guys needed that solid foundation.
Yeah, you needed
and just
that to prepare you for life.
Yeah.
It wasn't our plan to get pregnant so soon.
Yeah.
And I tell couples now, like, at least give yourself a year or two to just be married and just do whatever. Like, go travel, go to breakfast, like, enjoy each other, because we literally went from newlyweds to parents, and not only parents, NICU and preemie parents.
Right.
We knew really nothing about. It was a whirlwind.
Which, I mean, how on earth could you have prepared for a moment like that? For a journey like that. So
I don't even think we were truly prepared. We literally got thrown into the ring and was like, okay, it's here now.
So to back up, sorry to interrupt you. So to back up, you're married, y'all get pregnant, you have your first child, Jackson, right?
Well, you were pregnant like 2 months.
Yes.
On the wedding day.
Yes.
Okay.
Unexpectedly got pregnant before the wedding.
Oh my goodness.
And
that was real fast then. That was super fast.
Yeah, super fast.
Yes.
Oh.
So
that was not the plan.
Right. It might have been
almost
2 months.
I was 9 weeks.
It wasn't your plan, but God had another plan.
That's right.
Yeah, I was definitely, not happy about that because, I'm the Christian girl and trying to do right and all these things.
Hey.
And so
it's hard. It is hard when you're in love. It is hard. And you know that this is your person. Yes.
And, so I had to deal with a lot of the
scrutiny and
the shame of, like, no one thankfully, like, scrutinized me or anything like that.
Good.
But internally, I'm like, is
yeah,
this happening?
Struggling,
right. I got pregnant technically before we were, married, and, feeling like God is punishing me by giving me her baby, all the challenges. But, he's a gracious God. So, I know that he can still, in our flesh ways or in our mess up, so to speak, he's still sovereign.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, my nose is like itchy.
Oh, you're great.
And so I think, really he had to deal with me on that because I grew up thinking, in our Christian world, it's like, oh, if you do this, God's going to do that. He's going to punish you. He's going to punish you. And so I had to kind of deal with those, like,
for sure.
And it's like his word says he will chastise those he loves, but I don't believe that he chastised. I don't believe that was a punishment of God. I believe that was the blessing of God, even in our weakness. Like here he is coming through. But that's the kind of God that he is.
So,
but I can relate to you as well as being a mom and being like, what did I do? Was there something I've so been there in so many different situations, and God has to rewire our thinking, because I think a lot of our thinking has been based on what someone else said and not what he actually said, not what his word actually says. So I just wanted to throw that in.
So going through the story a little bit, then you get married, and then you have Jackson prematurely, correct? At a pretty young age, or pretty young gestational age. Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah.
Was it 22 weeks, correct?
22 weeks, yep. So I was right on that cusp of 6 months. We were planning the baby shower. I was still doing the registry. You know, it was just, it was crazy. Just, you know, had a great job. I'm like, career, really. I was living the dream. Newlywed, you know, everything's like falling into place. And he was like,
Yeah.
So how did it make you guys feel? This is one of the bigger questions I have for this entire interview. How did it make you feel? Or I guess if you can bring us back to that moment when you first laid eyes on him, like what, and it's okay if it was a hard feeling, you know, I think people need to know if that's the case, but what, can you describe kind of what you felt or what you were going through mentally through your mind and in that day and that season, when Jackson was born?
Yeah.
So I know you were out of it.
Yeah, I didn't. You saw him first.
Okay, yeah.
So she was out of it. I know slightly earlier when they checked her cervix to see how much dilated she was, and when it was like go time.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it was like, you're gonna have this baby. And I remember I broke down. I called my dad. I was like on the floor. I was just like,
this is before.
Yeah. And I was just like, cause I'm just thinking, I don't want to say ignorantly, but I wasn't aware just what a 22 weeker looks like be coming out. Like, is everything gonna be there? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so once they prepared for delivery, I kind of just made the decision, like, I'm going to roll the camera and just kind of document it. We weren't even like huge, we weren't doing the content.
No,
that wasn't even like a real thing.
Yeah, we weren't really heavy on content creation. Yeah. I had a crocheting business. And so I would post, you know, about like what I was making, and I would post, you know, like personal stuff, like, you know, personal, but it wasn't like
2015, so it wasn't a huge content creation.
To share, being an influencer and all that stuff. So
So I just rolled the camera, and I remember I took a picture of myself with the surgical garb and all that stuff. And I remember,
emergency C-section.
So I remember we went in. She was totally out of it. Once they took him out. They just rushed him immediately to the NICU. And there, we have pictures of, I took photos of them taking him to the room they were going to do all the work in. There's video that I took of them, wires and
probes everywhere,
all the things. And I remember just sitting there recording. I'm just like, wow, this is a little baby. Little baby. He was 11 inches, right?
Yeah, 1 pound, 2.9 ounces.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all. I can't even imagine.
So you think, I don't know, what's like tiny, you
like
know.
Like a newborn kitten tiny.
Yeah.
Like tiny. Like he could fit in our hands, literally.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he was small. His ring could fit around his arm.
I remember you saying that.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Around his arm. So his arm was this, like,
smaller
it was skinnier than his finger. You know, it was just surreal, you know.
He was just kind of like, he was like bruised. His skin was like almost kind of like pink.
Yeah, it was like
translucent almost.
Eyes were fused shut.
And it was scary because, like I said, it was a lot of beeps, a lot of wires,
people
resuscitating.
And when you look at the video, you see everyone is just calm, doing their thing, saying out the numbers.
It's a Tuesday for them.
Yeah, they're just like, okay, give me the ruler and, keep bagging up. I mean, it's intense. And he's just...
Yeah, because he was so young. Like, he couldn't cry, so there wasn't any cries. It was just...
no cries. So he came out not breathing on his own.
Right.
And he needed help. So they resuscitated him, I think, 3 times. And then transferred him over and got him intubated and everything. And I'm on the operating table. I'm awake, but I'm very loopy.
Yeah, you're out of it.
It was an emergency C-section. So that means that they're just like giving me all the drugs to like get me in a place where I don't feel anything and I can kind of relax. Because I had labored pretty much all day, like for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Not knowing that it was going to end in C-section. I wasn't sure if I was going to have a vaginal birth. Right. And it kind of was just like a divine thing because after 10 hours, my OB was like, okay, so kind of you've been laboring all day. We need to kind of make some decisions on what are we doing here. And I finally was tired and I was like, I'll take the epidural at this point because, when you think back about like what type of birth you want, I wanted a water birth. I wanted to go.
Girl, same.
And so now I'm like, oh shoot, I have to do. I didn't expect everything that I did not expect. All your
plans, right? All your plans
out the window. And so when they gave me the epidural, his heart rate dropped, and he became in distress. So then it was like almost like God was like, okay, we're going to get him out and save him because I honestly believe that had I pushed him vaginally, it could have caused more stress on his body. So doing the C-section was, I think, really good for him. And I didn't see him until, probably the next day.
Yeah.
I know that I saw a picture. They took a picture of him. And he was so beautiful. And I was like, wow, you guys wanted me to, like, not fight for him? Because there were talks of,
that's what I was touching on.
Oh, yeah, there were talks.
Quality of life talks.
That I was on bed rest on whether to save him or not, whether to give him a chance or not. They were saying he was going to have a 20% chance of surviving if we, went forward with giving birth. And I was like, no, we're going to give him a chance. Like, why wouldn't we give him a chance? Because again, for us, we hadn't really seen a 22-week baby. So you are thinking, do they have all their fingers and toes? Do they have everything? And he had everything. His hair, he had a head full of hair. And it was just like, wow, he's a baby, And you guys actually wanted me to just give up on my son. And I'm so glad that, he and I came together during those times.
Yeah.
Leading up to it, our faith was tested, I feel like. It was probably like one of the biggest things that we had.
Yeah, because early on. When the OBGYN was like, you guys are young. There's plenty of other opportunities. You guys can have more children.
Try again later.
He might live, but he won't be able to live.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Wow.
And we mulled it over, and I was kind of like on the side of like, wow, maybe he's right. Like, we can, have more children, and maybe he's right. Our son might have a ton of challenges. That would it be fair? But it's hard to say would it be fair to him because
how does he know any different?
Right.
Yeah.
But these are things that we have to really talk about.
Sure.
Like prior to me giving birth, it's like, what does it look like? Yeah. And do we, how do we proceed? And I remember I was praying fervently and just, you always hear like God didn't bring us this far to leave us. So for me, I'm like, why would he, put us through all this just for me to be like, you know what, it's fine. Like, yeah, you're right. We'll try again. No, he put us in this position because he's going to do something. And I really felt that. Yeah. I really believed that he was going to do something. I was like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but whatever he does, like, he's going to give us the grace to get through it.
Yeah.
And did he ever? It was almost like an outer body experience, when you really think about it, because I think back and people always used to say, oh my gosh, you guys are so strong. Like, how did you get through that? I wouldn't have been able to make it. And I'm like, it really was God, because
it's our weakness that makes him strong.
Yeah.
Listen, because you see, you're literally, when you think about it, you're leaving your baby every day with nurses and doctors, people you don't know.
Right.
Like, we could not stay there overnight. He belonged to the hospital. Like, although we were his parents, I think they said we were his guardians, or like we weren't even, when you look at like paperwork and things of that nature, I remember when we were filling out to get his like birth certificate and his social security card, like he technically belongs to the hospital. Like, he didn't really belong to us until, so when you think about that, that could break you down. That could make you like just send you into a hotel spin. So the peace of God was very present.
Yeah.
Just to be able to be calm and be able to leave the hospital and know, okay, he's safe. These people are, professionals. They're going to call us if anything goes wrong, or, things of that nature. I'm telling you, I had to really rely on God.
It's a crazy dynamic when you think of like, you spend so much time with your child and then you have to leave, and then it's like, how do you like have a normal life outside of that when you're at home? Like, how do you enjoy that TV show? Like, you have a whole child that at any time you could get a call and be like, sorry to give you this news.
Yeah.
So,
we really lived life on the edge in a way. We both were working. So I was off for 2 months while he was in the NICU. And that was because I had the C-section. I had to be off.
Right. Recovering in general.
Yeah. And then right at that 8 weeks, my job was like, hey, girl.
Like, how you
with
been?
The 8 time, we do that. And I was the carrier of the insurance. I have $1 million NICU baby in the hospital. I have to go to work. And so, again, God's grace had to really carry me through, because it was a position where I had to be focused. I had to be sharp. I was managing a team. I couldn't just sit in a corner and cry and feel sad. I had to keep going for Jackson, for Mark, and trust that he was going to be fine. They would call us throughout the day. I would call, check in and things of that nature. But it was definitely hard, and we were encouraging other parents during all of this by, he was taking the pictures, and we would work on the captions and everything like that. And, a lot of people were invested because, again, to see a 22-weeker not only surviving, but defying the odds of what the doctors had said. Every day was a miracle.
Yes.
Every single day that he lived and, started breathing better and eating better and just watch it. Like, we literally watched him grow.
Yes.
It was a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
That stuff is tough.
It's tough.
Yeah. Because I know it had to have been so traumatic, but then you see the hand of God move in that way. And it was just rolling through my head the whole time you guys have been talking that, like, Jackson is a product of y'all's faith.
Come on.
Like, you didn't waver to believe for him and to advocate for him and to do all the things to make sure that he became who he's going to be. The verse was going through my mind the whole time you're talking. I will live and not die, and I'll declare the works of the Lord. Like, that's a testimony over his life that he's going to live and not die. And he is still declaring, and he's still defying odds. I know to this day. So, y'all, that is, wow.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Marcus?
Ahead,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
There was a lot of experiences in the NICU that were just like a whole other story in itself when it comes to like the care and the bedside manners. I remember one time, there's a photo, maybe I'll share with Todd on the on the back end of the podcast. But there was a photo where we came in one day to see Jackson. I don't know if I came by myself or if you came, but he was literally they would have nurses like, you know, working like on their shift would be assigned to him, so we would always know who the nurses were.
Yeah,
and they would usually have like 2 babies to one nurse.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was me by myself or if we came together. But
I think it was you, because I feel like you called me.
Right? Yeah. And I get there, and inside his isolette, instead of him being centered in the little cushions and stuff, I mean, he's like
brought up,
like just almost like he went partying the night before, and
he was laid out.
But it wasn't in his best interest to be in that position.
Right.
So it's almost like
he needed to be swaddled pretty well.
Like, what are you doing? Like, I mean, he's literally almost.
He was so they had like a cushion, or like they took like blankets, you know, the receiving blanket, and they made like a shape around him, to kind of keep him cocooned, you know, and like he needed to be snug because he was working on breathing. He was obviously like I think he was on CPAP, but you know, you can't exert too much energy when you're trying to build your lungs, and he needs to be contained.
Yeah, he should have been like centered like this way.
He was like over.
He's like up here,
and
like
hanging
and hanging. Just I'm like
legs were one way, head if he's the
oh no.
What's going on?
Yeah, we have to be like, okay, so we don't want her no more.
Yeah,
come on. I mean, that's real. That's real.
I mean, yeah, and so I never want to. I think it's that candle. Can you blow it out?
Yes.
I'm like having like my nose. It's so bad.
I'm so sorry.
It never happens. I have a candle right there. I think it's irritating me. So I never want to be like, oh, our NICU journey was so beautiful and so great, and just nothing crazy happened, because it did. But two things can be true. You know, seeing your son outside the womb growing and getting healthy and strong, that was a blessing for us. Like, it made us stronger.
Yes.
And it made us be able to tell other people, like, we did not crumble under the pressure. Which is
pressure.
Where a lot of people, you always hear, like, pastors say, oh, this person went through this and lost their mind, but God kept you. Like, that is our story. Like, we fell harder in love. We were more connected. It was like, we are team us. You know, it is us against the world. And I don't think that had we not gone through that journey, that we would have had like that connection. Like we always say, ain't no breaking up. Like, so much.
3 things I want to touch on. Maybe this can help some NICU parents in the future. So one of the things off the top is, because your child is so fragile, that you have this thought in your mind that it's too easy for them to not do what they're supposed to do and just say, oh, he didn't make it because he wasn't supposed to make it, you know, in your eyes anyway. So I used to deal with that. Like, how do you know that they're giving their all with the cares? Because technically, like I said, if something happens to him, it's like, well, I mean, he already was against the odds anyway. So you're hoping that there's someone or that the staff is there to do the job the best of their ability and not think about, you know, well, he's already against the odds anyway, so, you know, but do all you can, right? That's one thing. The second thing is what happened with that nurse. You remember her name? You're not going to say her name. I remember her name. It started with a J.
Don't put her on blast, man. Don't put her on blast.
No, go ahead.
But that was the second thing. And the third thing, because there was 2 things overall in our NICU journey that just stand out always. And it was that one. And it was one when there was a nurse, and you remember, that we would do cares for Jackson, which is, you know, the bath. Because there's only so much you can do, right? So you would do baths, ointment, the lotion, the changing the diaper, you know,
temperature,
checking the temperature. So they called it cares, right? And there was a nurse that we told we were coming up there specifically to do his cares at this particular time, And then when we got there, this nurse had already did those things.
Oh, right. And that's y'all's time.
And now it's funny because I hadn't thought about that story in a long time, but it's every
it's like every
3 hours.
4.
Every 4 hours. Yeah. So he was a little bit. He probably was about 2, maybe 3 months at the time. So he's starting to become more like alert and more aware, and really they wanted him to not be touched outside of those touch times because he needs to rest and grow and all these things. So it's like with her doing that, now we can't. Now we got to wait another 4 hours
before you can touch your baby.
Before you can touch him, or and especially depending on what kind of day he's having. Like he would have days where it was like, we can't hold him because it might make him a little bit too distressed, or he's not having a good day. You know what I mean? So that was horrible.
If I remember specifically, we were coming from somewhere, so we specifically went somewhere and was like, "Oh, we're gonna make sure we go there for care.
Be on time,
right?" And we literally called up there and was like, "Hey, we're on our way, and we'll be there."
And she did everything.
And we get there, and he's just tucked in, and I'm just like, "Wait, what?" She had already did it.
She's like, "Oh, I already did it."
And the thing and when we talk about like the bedside manners, is that that's our only chance to touch our son, and you took that away from us.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Wow.
And we was upset. We complained about that.
Yeah. I can almost guarantee you that there's other parents that they're listening to that right now and they're like, I've been right there and had the same experience. I can almost bet.
If you have that experience, comment below if you're on YouTube. If you're watching this live, I say live, sorry. If you're watching the recording of this.
Hey, and if you're a nurse, don't do that.
Don't do that.
For real.
Yeah, because I think what it is small things are so big. So something so small as wiping him with a warm towel and soap is a big thing.
Yeah.
Especially when we told you we were coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we told you
we had to deal with
we had
to deal with a lot of those types of things, which made for I think it made us have to advocate harder for him. It's like, I think back now and I'm like, that's why I go so hard for Jackson, because it's like, people can be cruel, even in their role. You know what I mean?
It's every day for them.
What they're doing is doing it because they want to be doing it.
Right.
And so, that's why I say there were parts of our NICU journey that were just very frustrating. Added extra stress. And then, like she said, we're dealing with people who didn't necessarily believe what we believed. We were like declaring that he's a miracle. We're declaring God's grace over him and goodness. And I'm praying, laying hands. And they're just like so cold and so just.
No, I will say
very science-based.
Matter of fact.
Matter of fact,
We don't want to make it seem that it's everybody.
Right.
Because not everybody.
No,
There were some really great people that we still keep in contact with to this day from his journey.
Right.
But the reality is that, your child is going to come in contact with a lot of different staff because there's shifts. There's people go on vacation.
And depending on how long they're there.
Jackson was there for 4 months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like you're just going to have the same nurse every day. So there's different nurses. Some nurses are better than others. Some nurses care more than others.
Right.
Some they have an attachment. Some is just a job.
Yeah. And like you said, we have like literally a handful who are still in our lives to this day.
Yeah.
They watch him grow on social media.
Love on him.
They love on him. Yeah. One of the RTs, the respiratory therapist, he just, every time I post Jackson, he's like, just beams with pride because he took care of our son.
Yes.
And he was just amazing. So, we did have some great people who cared for our boy, and, can't thank them enough. But it is hard. And, once we got home, we were like, yes, we made it.
Freedom.
We made it. Oh my goodness.
Well, God turned 20% into 100%.
Listen, he
Pretty
sure
quick.
did, and more, because he came home and it was just like, he was just rocking it. They said he was going to be on oxygen at home for 2 years. And I said, before he got discharged, I was like, I don't claim that. I was like, don't put that on my son. Like, oh. And sure enough, he came off oxygen when he was 9 months.
Wow, y'all.
Wow. Just the nose cannula. And it was like a whiff of oxygen that would just keep his lungs, open and everything. He was on medication.
Yeah. Sure.
And so we were like, by the time we left, we were like, we're nurses.
Yeah, you might as well go get a degree now.
We knew how to do all of the cares, all of how to administer medicine. We had CPR lessons, and they trained us on what to do, and we were like, we got this. And so it just was very eye opening. It literally changed the trajectory of our life. That's when I started the business, Halos and Miracles, while I was on maternity leave with him, because I wanted something that expressed, like, I'm not just a mom, but like, I'm a miracle mama. I have a miracle baby. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really seeing anything that like spoke to me and my journey. And so I'm like, oh, what if I create it and then like put it out there for other moms who want to not only just be like, I'm a preemie mom, but, I have an answered prayer. And literally every design that I've created has been because of our journey. And it's been a blessing to so many other parents, because there's not a lot of people out there doing that. Like a faith-based.
I'm going to have to check that out. I need some of that in my life, for sure.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, like it reminds me, obviously we didn't go through that rough of a story with Ezra, but at the same time, like I would say one of the most beautiful things that has happened to date in my life is, we waited, Amanda couldn't have children. She wasn't able at the time for about 6 years, and the Lord hit us with this miraculous pregnancy. And I'll never forget like this promise. And Ezra did, he was premature as well. He wasn't in the NICU, but he was premature. He had a rough go at it. He actually went into distress as well.
His first year of life, we were in and out of the hospital too. So not NICU, but we nearly lost him several times.
Yeah, but at the same, I'll never forget holding him in my hands. And this is why I asked y'all like what was going through your mind, because I was when I held Ezra for the first time, similarly, I could hold him in my hand. His whole body could fit in my hand. And I'll never forget holding him, of course, not with one hand. I was footballing the kid, but I remember holding him for the first time, and everybody through the blinds on the other side of the window, they're all smiling and giving me thumbs up and all this and that. And I'm just looking at my life, and I don't know, they didn't tell me if Amanda made it or not. And she had a pretty rough C-section. And anyway, long story short, I remember saying, Lord, this is a promise. And he corrected me. He said, no. He said, he is a delivered promise.
Yeah.
Because the Lord makes good on his word.
Yeah.
And when he says something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And regardless of what, and I say that to you guys with Jackson, like regardless of what man said, God had another plan.
That's right.
And so that's why I was asking really kind of what went through your hearts, what went through your minds in that season.
I knew that God was going to perform a miracle, just because it had been prophesied while I was pregnant with him.
Wow.
And I didn't know that it was, like, I heard the message, but I didn't know it was like for me. I remember because I wasn't on bed rest, but I was very sick. I had hyperemesis with Jackson, and so sick. So sick. And there was a pastor out of Nassau, Bahamas. He would come once a year to our church because he's good friends with our previous pastor, and he was preaching about, you're going to see an off-season miracle in the next 9 months. And I was like, off-season miracle, okay. Like, you just hear it, you're like, yeah. And literally I think it was like the next couple months, I gave birth to Jackson, and So I knew when they were telling us the statistics and, you need to choose and decide. I was like, I know God is going to perform a miracle. I don't know what it's going to really look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you already knew the answer.
Yeah. I was like, whatever you got to take us through to get there, we're going to get there. And so every day we look at him like, you are a miracle. Literally, he is a miracle. He is a miracle.
Come on.
I mean, he really is.
They all are, but especially him.
Yeah. Literally the epitome of God suspended, nature time to do what he wanted to do. Like it wasn't supposed to look this way according to the doctors, but he had a different plan. So, just the first few years of his life were very blissful and just like, I don't know. It was
he
every
made
day.
It like we have our son, right?
Yeah. I was home with him. I was just able to, nurture him and watch him grow. And I think he was in like speech therapy because we noticed, okay, he has a slight speech delay. Okay. We're like, we expected there to be some delays.
Sure.
Right.
So that wasn't like painful for me. It was just like, okay, this is the next part of our journey. Do this speech therapy. And I remember we had moved to Dallas for my husband's job at the time. And I got him because when they turn 3, you have to switch from like a regional center to school.
Yes.
And for me, I'm like, well, he's been in my care for 3 years. Like, I'm not really ready for him to go to
Send
school.
him off there.
Yeah. He's
But I'm like, they were basically saying, if you want to continue services as far as like speech, and I think he was getting OT as well. They were like, he has to go to, you have to go get an IEP and do all these things. And I remember other friends of mine, their children getting IEPs. So I kind of was a little familiar. But I had never had experience with it.
Right.
And so he got his first IEP when he was 3. And, we got him enrolled in the school system. And that was definitely a journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, his whole schooling has been a crazy journey. But I will say that, again, it was like I was thrown into on-the-job training because I didn't really have anyone I just knew how to advocate for him because of what we, had just gone through. But I remember I had took him to, it was a daycare. It was like a private daycare.
Which one?
Children's Safari. Yeah, it was a private daycare. And I was like, it was a Christian school. And I was like, yes, we found one. And I remember I had a panic attack after I dropped him off because literally my heart literally hurt. Yeah. I mean, I was like I was crying. My chest was tight. Because it was my first time leaving him since he'd been home from the NICU. Yes. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you've been through all that, it's like, that's your baby and you have to trust. But my spirit was a little bit, as the days went on, it was still uneasy. And I was like, okay, I know people talk about dropping their kids off at daycare and, it should kind of feel, as days go on, it should feel a little bit like, okay, we got this together. And it was not the right place. And nothing happened to him, but there were things that I was observing about the atmosphere. And I remember thinking, this is a Christian daycare. Like, babies. I mean, yelling at them.
Oh, no. Nope.
He wasn't potty trained at the time, and he was soaked, like, that week, the first week that I picked him up, soaked through his diaper, like, clothes wet.
Oh, girl, no.
And I was like, yeah.
This ain't the place.
He didn't seem to really like going.
Yeah, he didn't seem, because he would cry, and I thought, he's just crying for, like, separation
He wants
anxiety.
you, yeah.
No, it was not that. So we put him, we took him out, and then we were able to put him in like the elementary school, and they were kind of, it was so many kids.
Yeah.
It was like 30 kids in the pre-K, or like it was like the pre-K, and they were just like, oh, he's like running off, and he's doing little things. And for me, I was just kind of like, well,
this wasn't for children with autism.
It wasn't for children with autism. It was like a general, and it was 30 kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, he's never been to school. You know, when I think back, there's like little things that, you know, you kind of start piecing together.
Yes.
But they
Little
were
red flags, per se.
And I was like, well, he's just a runner. Like, he's a kid.
Yeah.
Like, who's that?
Yeah. Yeah, kids run.
Yeah, and so they kind of were like, we don't feel like this is like the place for him. Oh, because they were saying he was developmentally delayed. So they had to, for insurance purposes, we were told that he needed a grander diagnosis other than speech. Mm-hmm. And under the developmental, the global, you know, delay, it's kind of just could be any. It could be a lot of things. It's not like one thing. So we rocked with that.
Teacher quit though. Right?
The teacher quit. She was like, I can't do this. Yeah, she was like overwhelmed. So we started moving. We moved to another school, which was like near our house, but it was a smaller classroom. And I remember the psychologist saying, I think we should get him tested for autism. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on, because he was only 3. And from what I knew, it was like you don't really start testing until they're kind of a little bit older, unless they're like really strong signs that like, But I was like, he's developmentally delayed, so
give the kid a chance.
Let's give him time.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm very, very strong on. I'm a Black mom, and I know how the world can label Black
label for sure,
especially once they're young.
Yeah.
And I felt like we were the only Black family in the school. There was no one that looked like us. It didn't feel like it was just in the best interest for Jackson. And I was told that the psychologist shouldn't have even said that to us. That should have come from someone else. Yeah. And so I was just rubbed the wrong way with that. And I was like,
we have experiences like that early on. I mean, just a pediatrician we never saw before. And they're like, have you had him, and we're like, wait, what? He just has a speech delay.
Yeah. My son does not have autism. Get that out of my face.
It's painful too, because it's like, we were in denial completely that could even be the case too. So that was hard, but it's hard to hear that.
I think in that too, you can still be, I guess, slightly in denial, but also want to give that child time to grow.
Yes. For sure.
And maybe develop more. And that's for me what I wanted. It wasn't even like, don't necessarily. I wanted it to be the right. Like you're diagnosing him because this is actually what's going on, not just because you're tired of putting in code 018.
Right.
And it's not, because that's how it was off. Like, we need another code. And we need another code. Like, this is what he's developmentally delayed.
Yeah.
And so once he got there were so many things. God really carried us through Texas because it was challenging navigating the school system and people who I felt like didn't really have his best interest at heart.
Yeah.
We experienced a teacher hitting him. And, it was a whole thing. We didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't know about that. Yeah, it was horrible.
Thankfully, there was another staff member that actually reported it. Mm-hmm. And I remember my wife called me. I was at work. That was the last phone call I thought I was going to get.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The principal
called me. And I called my boss. Was like, I'm going home.
Yeah, because I was early. And in this time, we skipped over a big chapter. We had our daughter. We had our daughter in Texas. And I remember it was right around Christmas. And so I saw the teacher. She brought him to me. And it was like right before Christmas break. And I remember I was on my way to Walmart. I remember exactly to do a pickup of the kids' gifts and things like that. And the principal called me and said that an incident had occurred. And I said, an incident? Well, my son's in the back. I picked him up. He was fine. what could have happened? And he said the teacher slapped him. And it was reported by another administrator. And at that moment, I had to call my husband and my mom, because it was that moment. I felt like I get when people do crazy things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's
I was telling him, I said, I'm going to burn the school down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because this woman brought my child to me.
Didn't say a word.
Didn't say anything.
And didn't. And you know, it was a whole thing. Like CPS got involved. She was getting fired. We had to go in. It was crazy. And
it was on tape too.
It was on tape. Yeah, it was on tape.
What is so unfortunate is like what you guys are talking. We literally go around in the community and we talk with people all the time. And this is not like an uncommon thing. And our hearts are so broken over it, because it's like these are some of the most vulnerable babies on the planet.
Right.
And if we don't stand up for them, then who will? And some of these babies don't have what we have, what we both have, mommy and daddy coming to burn the school down.
Some of them might not have a parent at all in their life. Or,
Or the parent, or they don't, because I talk to parents often who are like afraid to speak up, or because this person's a teacher. And it's like, no, you have to speak up for your child. And so I feel like so much character building went forward. Just even in that season, we moved back to California right before the pandemic happened. Like literally we moved February, I think like 8th or something like that. And then the pandemic happened. And, you know, during that time, we had put him in a school. We were like, oh, this is going to be so great. We felt very good about this school.
Oh,
and I remember us telling the teacher, her name was Jody, about the former school wanting to diagnose him with autism. And she was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm going to work with him. I'm going to do all these things, and we're going to give him time to grow, to, you know, build up his skills and just see.
That's amazing.
Before just, you know, go do this. He went to school for 2 days, and then they shut the school down.
2 days.
Yeah, I mean, they shut the school down, but they closed because of COVID.
The COVID,
and so it's like, now he's going to do pre-K virtually. And so we did pre-K virtually, and she was amazing, but I still feel like he got gypped, because he would at least been going, and they had such a good system in place. I think her son had autism, and she just, I was like, this is going to be so great.
Yeah,
and
it was a good school.
It just it was a challenge. And so, you know, we're managing, teaching him through virtual at home, still under the developmentally delayed diagnosis. And we had a new pediatrician, and we talked about just the support that he needed. You know, does he need additional support? Does he need more intense support? Because he was growing in things, but he still was behind of where he needed to be for speech specifically.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really showing major signs of autism. Like, he made eye contact. Yeah. He knew his name. He knew, you know, all of the things that you hear kind of like, oh, if they don't make eye contact, oh, if they walk on their tippy toes, oh, if they don't like this or that. And
they line up toys and...
That's the only thing that he did. But to me, I still wasn't.
I mean, like,
there's kids that do that do not have autism. Yes,
right. And so for me, it didn't look like what I was used to seeing. He wasn't. I don't know. Would you say the same, or would you see stuff? Now thinking back.
No, I always just thought it was just a delayed development.
Yeah, and we were just like, it's so unique, and this is so cool how he does little different things. And so his pediatrician was like, you know, she broke it down to me and just said, I think it was it was at his 5-year-old checkup.
Yeah.
And she just kind of said, what's the worst that could happen at this point if we just go through the steps? But she was a woman who looked like me, who I felt empathy, I felt compassion. It wasn't like,
being forced.
It was like sisters talking. You know what I mean? And it came at a time when I could really receive it, and said, you know, if it's going to give him more support, then why not?
Right.
Yeah, what's it going to hurt? Kind of thing.
Yeah. And so she set us up. We went through the steps of going through the diagnosis for autism. And it was different because it was the pandemic.
Yeah.
So
we were right there with y'all. Our stories.
It was more challenging than I'm sure like it is now.
Yes.
Or was pre-pandemic. Just in like give me appointments and everyone having to wear masks and it was way different. But I think we got through the process pretty swiftly, so to speak.
Yeah.
As swift, I guess, as possible. And it didn't feel as bad as I thought it was going to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone was very patient and very understanding. There was one doctor who we had met with, and I was like,
Which doctor is this?
He was part of the diagnosis
the team.
portion, but we didn't see him again. He was not patient. He was very
that's hard.
like, he was saying little things like,
were you guys in Dallas? Y'all in LA?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, we were like outside of LA. So we were in Chino, which is like an hour outside of LA. But yeah, he was like, you don't think he has autism? I was like,
yeah, people can be cold.
And they don't realize like the emotional roller coaster that you've been on and all of those things. And it's just, we had people say stuff like that to us too. And it's like, oh, look, if they only, they could only be in our shoes right now.
I would say we've had both sides of the spectrum. I'm sure y'all have too. Like, it's obvious he has autism from one party, and then the other party be like, don't say that, that's wrong, blah, 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 blah.
Right. And I mean, being in the faith community, I mean, we had a lot of people around us. It was kind of a little bit the opposite of like, we're feeling like there's something going on and we need to, discover this more to get him the help that he needs. And in the faith community, it's like,
it's not allowed.
You can't say that, you can't declare that or it's going to happen, or all those kind of things. And so we were kind of facing the opposite. And it's like, look, like, and we agree, like one thing that Todd and I do is we've always prayed over Ezra that the only thing that would be left of autism is the gift. And we just believe for the fullness of everything God has over him. But accepting that diagnosis didn't change that. It just got him more of the resources that he needed.
It's just like the pediatrician said.
I think people in the faith community really struggle because, I mean, we don't want to put a label. We don't want to put a limitation on our kids because we're believing, we're believing for them. And so,
No, that's true. Yeah, you don't want to limit them, but you also want to give them what they need.
Yes.
And like you said, in the faith community, it's like, I've seen it recently, especially like on social media, like, let's pray the autism away. And it's like, I know.
Let's pump the brakes a second here because there's some awesome stuff about autism.
It's not a curse, or it doesn't have to be a curse. It could be a gift, And you're right. I do remember encountering, it was around, I think he was in first grade. I had to take him, we were trying to get him in another like regional center for some ABA support. And that was the day he hurt his arm. And I took him to that meeting. And the guy was like, this report, he was reading the autism diagnosis. He was like, between me and you, I don't think he has autism. He's like, this report is wrong. And so then I was like, hey,
you're like,
so does he not? I'm like,
who knows at this point?
I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, if he needs to have it on this paper to get what he needs, give him what he needs. Like, because he was trying to like reverse the whole thing. And he wrote in his report and turned it into the regional center saying that he didn't think that Jackson had autism. And so they denied us because they're like, well, this is our guy, our regional, he was a referral. And they went with what he said. And I said,
that's
but you have a pediatrician, my son's pediatrician, an OT, a psychologist, and a speech therapist who all came together and said he has autism. And now this one guy is saying he doesn't think. And so now he's not going to get the regional support that he needed.
Oh, no.
And it's such a tricky thing because they're going, I mean, there's no test they can run that says yes,
definitively anything.
They're going off behaviors and different things. And that is such a difficult thing. I really feel like, and I think there's a lot of people getting diagnosed today that are so high functioning. It's like, what do you need a diagnosis for? But then at the same time, like for them, it lets them know, okay, that's why I have these little quirks and these little things, So
I would say this, like to the parent that's watching this who may be in the process of a diagnosis, or maybe you're in denial and you don't want to even go down the road of having a diagnosis done medically. It's just like Ima said, it opens up doors to services that your child would not get otherwise. And like, to me, I think that has made a world of difference for our son. And it sounds like for Jackson as well, it's made his life that much better. It's a struggle getting to the appointments and making this happen and that happen and following this and that. But at the end of the day, like, our son can tell me, Daddy, I love you. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't say that's wholly based off services. I mean, we prayed a lot and the Lord has really brought him a long way, but at the same time, those services have helped.
Yes.
So I want to encourage a parent going through that. Like, just know it's not a bad thing. It's not a death sentence.
And it does. I think that's the stigma behind it, is that people think your life is over. Because I remember once we officially got the diagnosis, his developmental pediatrician also said, hey, Jackson is still who Jackson is before I wrote this paper.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like, Jackson didn't change.
Right.
Just the way that we have to parent and provide support and things, that's the only thing that's changing. But Jackson is still who Jackson is before you wrote this on the paper. That helps me. And I think that could help another person. Also, I'll always tell parents that your child is still your child.
That's right.
They are who they are. A piece of paper is not going to change or dictate who they are. So for us, like, Jackson has autism, but autism doesn't have him. Like,
come on. I'm stealing that.
It doesn't.
It's a part of him, but at the core of who Jackson is, like, he's a happy kid. He's a loving kid. He's a sensory kid. He loves, touching.
So he's sensory seeking.
We got to see him doing his flips on our video.
Oh yeah, that was so fun.
And he's very engaging, and I could see why that would be confusing, because I feel like he's definitely, him being on the spectrum, he's definitely a high functioning kid. Like he does. He made good eye contact. I was like, wow.
He said, Jackson. He said, yes.
Yeah.
Jackson, you want to do this? No, I don't. Or yes, mommy. Daddy, where are you going? Like, his speech is
amazing.
And I know that there's some parents who, feel their kind of way about therapy and it works. Oh, yeah. And I often tell parents, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. Jackson has been in since he was 18 months old. 18 months. He's 9.5.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so it has been a journey, and we work with him obviously at home. We talk to him, all of the things, but
prompting and all that.
Yeah, we've been at this. It didn't just happen overnight. Like, when I share things that he's eating and trying, I'm like, you didn't just start this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a progressive situation,
And that's something that parents who are watching this, maybe families who aren't affected by autism, I would say they don't, this is me personally, I don't believe that they probably see it that way. They just see a family going through a journey. What they don't see is behind closed doors every single day, every minute, we are, especially with children like Ezra, who is more on the profound side of having autism, profound autism. Like, it's something that we work with. It doesn't stop. Like, it doesn't stop, at all. And so, it's more than
profound. What do you mean?
Profound meaning
when he was diagnosed, there were levels, and he was diagnosed level 3, which is the most severe. Which he was nonverbal until he was 4.5, and now he never stops talking.
Yeah, so. Profound meaning he in my terms anyway, that he exhibits
more severe
symptoms. Like, the symptoms that he does have are on the more severe side as far as neurodiversity goes.
But
But
that makes sense. That's probably not the official term. I'm not going to lie to you.
He doesn't even come close to some of these babies who are, I mean, they have a feeding tube and like so many, you know what I mean? Like there's such a vast spectrum. Oh, yeah, yes. He's been talking about your kids ever since he met them.
This morning, he was like, want to talk to Jackson and Cameron? I was like,
he remembers their names. Like, he will never forget y'all. Yeah. Just meeting y'all, that he won't.
He loves y'all already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, and I don't even know what level Jackson is, because I don't feel like they wrote that in.
They change it every time it turns around.
Yeah, the DSM changes every time you turn it
around. Why it's a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like we said, and like you said, it's it's really about getting them the supports they need more than anything. Mm-hmm. And I say that too, even for me, giving me the supports and the tools to know how to help my son, and similarly y'all's story.
Yeah.
You know? We want him to grow up and thrive and be as independent as he can be, I
don't want to stop the conversation on autism whatsoever, but I do want to shift gears a little bit. Having your other child, how has that changed Jackson's life? How's that changed y'all's life, having her in the story? He's like, let's shift gears back then.
No, she's amazing.
Vasectomy was had.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She so prior to having her, I think Jackson was like 2.5, and I kind of had that urge of like, because prior to that, once he was born, I was like, oh no, we're not doing this again.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, the trauma of it all.
Yes.
Not knowing if we're gonna have another preemie or whatnot. But God, I felt like God put it on my heart, and I'm like, He never just put something on your heart to just put it on your heart. Like it means something.
Yep.
And so it was a dream, and I was just like, we should try again, and tried, and we got pregnant, and I had a miscarriage, which was totally just unexpected, obviously, and just heartbreaking because, you went from, the trauma to being like, oh, yeah, let's do this again. And then you do it again. It's like, okay, wasn't expecting that. And we had just moved away. Yeah, we were in Dallas for his other job. And so we went through that, and I was like, okay, I don't think we're going to do this again. And I had friends who were, kind of encouraging us and just saying, give yourself a little time.
Yeah.
Found an incredible OB. And, she like did a whole workup on me, because I was starting to think like, is what happened with Jackson, like,
did it damage your body in ways?
Yeah. Or like, can I not carry baby full term?
Right.
And, she checked me and she's like, you're healthy. I don't see why you can't carry a baby the full term. I'm going to do what I can to help you carry a baby the full term. And so we waited, how many months was it? Like 3 months maybe? I think.
Before what?
Before we tried again with Cameron? I think it was like 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I think it might have been 3.
Yeah. And I got pregnant, and the OB was like, we're going to do all the medicine, the, progesterone, everything to carry full term. And she did, and so I was able to carry Cameron until 38 weeks. Yeah, 38 weeks. I had a schedule section. Yeah, I had a lot of, pretty much like my pregnancy was like lived at the OB, because she was like checking on me once a week. I went every week for the whole pregnancy. Whether it was getting a shot, checking my cervix, giving me an ultrasound. And so it was such a blessing. It was definitely a faith walk carrying her.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't know. I just had faith that, okay, Lord, this is my rainbow baby, and you blessed me with her, so it's going to be okay. And it was a beautiful delivery, like redemption.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was such a peaceful delivery, because it was scheduled. And we got to see her right away. I think you helped. Yeah, I think you helped.
I don't think wait. Yeah. No, I don't think I helped her.
I thought you did.
No, I think.
Or they brought her over to us, because you have like the little
the drape. Yeah,
you did hold her. Yes, you did, because they took a picture. Yeah, you were holding her, and I'm like laid out on the thing, and But we got to do skin to skin, which was different because with Jackson, I didn't hold Jackson. I didn't think that was for 28 days. Oh. So being able to be in recovery, they brought her to me, and later on my chest, we did skin to skin. I got to nurse her right away. It just was like
a whole different
night and day. It sounds like
different experience. Yeah, and so just seeing how Jackson started reacting to her as a baby, like they were really. I think the first time when we brought her home, he was like, yeah, like who is this? You know,
hang on, I'm the only baby here.
He asked to hold her, and then he like tried to get up, and I was like, wait.
Oh yeah.
But it was just beautiful to see. I think that's when he started getting closer to you when she was born because she needed me in a different way. When I was pregnant with her, I was like, sick and everything like that. So that's kind of changed. But they started getting close. I think they started getting close, right? And they were like 3. Oh no, he turned 4.
I mean, I think they've always been close. Really.
Yeah. It's never.
Yeah. But I think with her, she kind of helps him. Yeah. Like, especially now as they get older, I think her presence has helped him talk more,
socialize,
more, keeps him on his toes.
We have talked about her big emotions might be because she's seen him have big emotions.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I think we're dealing with some of that right now. And I'm like, how do I deal with this? Because he thinks he's supposed to respond the way that Justice, our son, thinks he's supposed to respond the way that Ezra does to everything. And I'm like, I don't know if I can handle this because know full well.
Sometimes he does have bigger emotions.
Yeah.
And, it is tricky to navigate because you want her to feel safe and be able to express herself. But also, okay, just because he's responding like that, you don't have to respond like that.
And she's, he gets attention. He gets, mommy and daddy rush over when something like that happens. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. So I think she started that probably in the last year or so of just bigger emotions. And so something that for us, I've tried to do, and even Mark, daddy, we tell her we'll do daddy-daughter dates.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's cool.
Daddy-daughter dates. I try to do little things with her.
Yes, that's so important.
Just to show her you're just as important because I think sometimes the siblings of a child with special needs get kind of lost in the background. And I never want her to feel like she's forgotten or she's less important.
We're currently in that journey.
Yeah, we are. We're in the same path. That we don't want to leave our Justice behind.
And his whole life revolves around Ezra's therapies and all the things we do to help Bubba be the best. But I want him to have those special things for himself.
Well, there's there's this thing that's I said it in another episode because I saw it on another podcast, but there's a scientific thing. It's called the glass child syndrome. And the glass child syndrome is where a sibling to a child who's going through some type of medical condition or disability, whatever, a hard journey, we'll just put it that way, that the sibling feels like they are see-through, like they're transparent because all the attention is given, not out of choice either, but that all the attention has to be given.
More.
Maybe a child's in the hospital all the time and the sibling just feels like, well, I'm just a glass child.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a form of depression. It legitimately is.
Diagnosis.
Yeah. And so we
I think you guys though are so on the right track of making her, and I mean, I think that comes natural to make them feel wanted and welcome, but it's we have to try a little harder to make sure.
I think we do overcompensate sometimes for her, with her being a girl and the baby, if she's our last baby. And so she has definitely been more spoiled, but a lot of times Jackson, I'm sure you guys go through fixations with Ezra.
Oh, yeah.
Has to have this thing and so it's become a thing where it's like, if he gets something, then she wants something.
Oh, yeah.
And
as you've seen, it's been robots for us. So we are broke. We're broke right now. Oh, man.
Yeah, so it's balancing that and just, knowing like, okay, if this is something that we started doing with 2021, like taking a trip for Jackson's birthday because it's in the summer. So he doesn't get like the school birthday celebration.
Right.
And so we always told like, you get the benefit too because we're going,
you get to go on the trip. Yeah.
You get to go on the trip. And so it's become like a family thing, but it's something that, we, like if he gets a present for his birthday. I remember we went to Hawaii in 2021 for his birthday, and she was like, "I want the toys too," because in Hawaii, I think at the time it was Moana. Moana was the first one that was like so big, and so he wanted the Moana toys, and she got a Moana doll. And at first I was like, "Well, it's his birthday," but I'm like. He wants to feel special too. So my parents are very big on like, if one kid gets something, the other kid, even if it's their birthday, like they'll send a little extra.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, even if it's just like a small little gift card, just so that the other one doesn't feel
left out.
Really more Cameron. Jackson, he can kind of care less, but she's going to be like, you got cake. Well, where's my cake?
Where's my cake?
Yeah, it's the same exact dynamic for us.
Yes.
Same
half of the dynamic. Robots in Justice's mind belong to him that Ezra just got for his birthday.
So it's definitely interesting, but it's beautiful to see. I really, like I said, I feel like just she kind of helps him and pushes him. She's very helpful. She's really the perfect sibling for him.
Yeah.
She gets it. She understands. And, we try to shield her from certain things as much as possible, but she's very intuitive. She's very inquisitive. And she's really the greatest sister for Jackson. I really think
that's amazing. And naturally, like being a girl, that nurturing aspect that we're just born with as women.
Sometimes she's like, I'm the big sister. I'm like, you're the little sister. She's like, she reminds me of me and my brother when we were little. I would like fight on his behalf or be like, oh, you did this to my brother? I'm going to get you. And I'm 5 years younger, And so she's like, if anybody says something to Jackson, I'm going to get them.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she has his back. So it's definitely been an interesting dynamic, right?
They still be fighting.
They still fight over things.
Yeah.
Hey, that's just being
best
a sibling.
friends and worst enemies. That's the way it is.
Yeah. It's like their current struggle is Jackson I don't see it around here, but he has a map, like a number grid. So it's like 1 to 100. And she's in her counting era. He's in his counting era. And it's his, but she's like, I want to count to 100. And I'm like, we have so many other
things. Why do y'all have to pick the one thing, right?
And it really is. And he's like, it's mine. And sometimes I'm like, yes, Jackson, I love to hear you, hearing him advocate for him. Yes, I'm like, you tell her, Jackson.
Go count. With us, it'd be, with Justice, what would it be? Go count the toys on the floor instead. Count to 100. Yeah. I can pick them up while you're at it.
All the toys.
No, I'm kidding. But
it's that one thing that they're hyper fixated on that the both, sibling always wants.
Hey, and it's the same way. Yeah, they can't let one or the other have it. They have to be on the same thing.
Even if they're not playing with it. So it's a journey. You just They're a blessing, but they're also woo sometimes.
Yes. We feel that. We feel that 100%. We all are tired.
No sleep ever. Yeah. It's okay.
I know.
But I was going to ask y'all, how is having them both, has it changed your relationship with God? Has it made it, I know it's obviously made your relationship deeper with him, but has there been any specific ways or any kind of things that come to mind right now of how having them both and seeing them interact, if there's any way that it's deepened your relationship with God and one another, with each other?
I think I will say I'm constantly always trying to strengthen my relationship with God anyway.
Yeah.
I think with both of them, I think what it's done for me is it's really like just put in perspective of just like the legacy of like, like really appreciating their lives together, and especially like getting older. Like I'm 43. Like just in general, mainly with the kids, it's just like I'm not gonna be here forever, and every moment I can spend with them or experience I can get with them is like something that they're gonna be able to take with them or tell their kids about, or just it's much different. Like I would say when she first was born, I never really thought about experiences, you know. But now I'm just looking at it like, wow. Like I made a joke the other day, and I was like, yeah. What I said in 40 years, I said you're gonna be changing my diaper. I was like, 40 years, don't say that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I could just see like. I appreciate just how you could tell, like, how much she loves me. Like, if I'm sick, she cares, you know?
She's all over it.
Just how they just gravitate towards me. That I mean, it's times when, like, literally, he's on one arm, she's on this arm, and we're just, and mom's just, like, doing something else. And it's like,
and they're fighting over who can hold what arm.
Wow, like, these kids really, like, love me. Like,
I feel like that's such God's design for the family, and for the father to be present and there and active in their life and leaving that legacy. Like, I feel like that's a miracle in itself in the day and age we live in. But there's so many distractions and people are so busy, you know, and to be able to really spend that quality time, I love that.
I would say this too, like, you know, two things. Number one, mankind tends to believe that the most important commodity to humans is money. But the truth is, it's time. Yeah. Because there have been people who have spent the last of their $1 million of fortunes to buy one more second, but couldn't do it. Yeah. And so what it comes down to is time. And if there's one thing that when we're dead and gone that we leave behind, it's a legacy. That's it.
That's so
and
good.
So how we spend our time determines what our legacy will be. Yeah. And just those moments that may seem insignificant in the day-to-day where we're spending time with our kids, like you said, and one in each arm, like, you know, some people might look at that in their own hearts, you know, in that situation is, well, you know, this is just me spending time with my kids. What they don't see is just what you're seeing yourself, which is it's creating a legacy.
It is. And I mean, as he was talking, I just felt the love of the father. I mean, you're a father and you are experiencing the way he loves you.
Absolutely.
When you get to love your kids. And I don't know, that messes with me.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, not only that, but I mean, time and a legacy, but also, you know, a child naturally wants to love a mother. A child naturally wants to love a father, but a lot of times, I put it this way to Amanda.
It's different.
A child naturally loves a mother. Yeah. The father has to earn that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The father has to earn that.
She was not like that when she always.
She would cry when he would hold her.
Oh.
But I was like, that's because, you know, that's because I exclusively was breastfeeding her, so our bond was much different. But she, you know, it was like the first 4 months. But she, you know, started getting more comfortable. And I think, too, sometimes girls are, like, scared of these big guys. Like,
beards and...
my face, talking about Zuzu Gaga. So, yeah, I think that God, I see God's love. I see God's love through our kids.
Yeah.
So for me, often it's like a blessing. You know, it heals my inner child. And just, it's a beautiful thing to see. And I think we still have those moments where we're like, he gave us these kids, like, we're the adults, like, we're the parents. Like,
no, we even think about the fact that we had kids together. Like,
that's
started, it's like,
look, we had kids.
You dissed me.
We
never thought that, like, we would end up together.
Yeah.
It's like we were just kids ourselves, you know?
I know. I still call my mom for things. She's still, like, you know, very integral in our life. And so I just marvel that, like, you know, I remember when we did the podcast, Tabitha's podcast, and after we were done, I think it shifted some things for us, even with Jackson, because knowing like we knew we were responsible for him, but just like the assignment and knowing like we are called to this, it makes you treat it differently.
It does.
Because, I said something to him yesterday. I was like, I try to be very gentle and easy with him a lot of times because we don't know what he's facing out in the world at school. Or, there's a little boy in his class, I think, who has like some yelling issues. Like, he's like sitting. And Jackson, when he gets home, he's just like, I just want to go home. Like,
you're supposed to be in his silence.
And I'm like, I look at that and it makes me parent him like from a different lens sometimes. Like, just being gentle and knowing like God didn't have to give me this child as in my care, to care for and to love and to nurture and grow. So I look at it as like I have to treat it kind of like all of the blessings that God gives us. We have to be good stewards over it. Yeah. And I'm like, I never want to feel like I'm not stewarding my kids well. And I remember, like I said, when Tabitha broke us down, I was like, okay, let me snap back into like, it's hard some days, but this is, and God's going to give us the grace to do it.
And it's easy to get in an aggravated cycle or just like, oh, this is too much. And it's those wake up calls and those reminders where God always pulls us back and is like, dude, you're trying to do that by yourself. Like, I can help you. And like, my grace is sufficient. Like, for real, though.
For sure. I'm reminded, too, of two things. Like, children with special needs is the closest thing that we'll ever see to Jesus on planet Earth. This is just my opinion. And here's why. Because in Matthew 18:5, Jesus is talking to, I believe it's his disciples, and they're arguing over why this child is hanging around Jesus, and he picks him up and he says, it's Matthew 18:5, he says, anyone who cares after this little one on my behalf is caring for me. That's red letters. And so when he said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I was thinking about raising my child and the way that I care for him and the time I spend with them. And then it brought it to a deeper dimension. I'm sorry I'm talking too much about it, but a deeper dimension of that is long suffering, where Philippians 3:10, Paul is speaking, and he says, we rejoice in the power of his resurrection, talking about Jesus. And I believe we as Christians, generally, we get that. Yeah. And the fellowship of his sufferings to be conformed to his death. To me, long suffering with I think we lost y'all's video.
Oh, there we go. You're back.
To me, walking with someone through the hardest moments in life creates a resilience and a strength, and it creates a wind behind your sails, and it creates, to me, a form of crying out to God that cannot be attained any other way than through the path of suffering. And it's a beautiful sound.
It is. I mean, you look at all the miracles in the Bible and you see like the miraculous power of God, but you didn't see like the process. You didn't see what that blind person lived through before he opened their eyes, and I think being firsthand witnesses to that and being in that process, raising a child and believing for them. I loved what you said about how it made y'all stronger, because for so many people, like the statistics, if you look at the statistics, it pushes them apart. Oh, yeah. And it's like, and I knew it was like a conscious decision. I'm going to push into you. I am going to hang on to you. We're going to hang on to each other, and we're going to hang on to God for dear life.
I got bruises on my arms.
Yeah. to make it through it. And I love that y'all shared literally your whole journey and how like God brought y'all together, because I mean, had y'all's process not looked like that, like you may not have been able to, he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Right.
It didn't catch him off guard. He knew. And so, man, I'm just so encouraged. I'm so encouraged hearing y'all.
Yeah. When you think about all of it, it's like he knew. So the timing of it all is just like, I often say, it's not always easy to do with God, but we joke and we're like, I don't know if people do without him, because even doing it with him, you do go through long suffering, you do go through hardships, you do go through doubt and all those things. So imagine a life without him. You would be like, what they say, shipwreck.
Oblivious. You would just be oblivious to the real world.
Yeah. Exactly. You know? So we're living it and we're thriving in it. And I think that's the big takeaway is like people seeing like you can go through these things, but still be, happy and joyful and positive and faith-filled. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be like the worst thing in your life.
That ever happened to you.
No. Contrary, it's the biggest blessing you could ever have.
Exactly. I think so.
Well, with that being said, I mean, Marcus, what would you tell dads out there who may be going through the process? Maybe they're in denial. In the rut, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like as men, we have a responsibility to be strong, but also, seek support at the same time. Mm-hmm. I think, looking back, I probably could have, seek support more. Just cause I know, like, I didn't seek like any support. I kind of
just trying to do it on your own.
As I go. But I think even if you don't necessarily feel like you need help, it's always good to have, to just be in a community of people, male or female, that can, just be support for you if you ever need it. I do think that, especially with moms, I think as if you're still with the mom, or even if you're not, just to be very supportive and understanding, have compassion and grace, because I could only imagine, like, as a mom, like she said, like, there's mom guilt, being able to support, the mother of your child with that, understanding it, because we can't have that same guilt because the baby didn't form inside of us. So there's a different type of emotion that I think you do have to have some respect for, and just appreciation for, and just understanding. So I would think, I think that's something I would encourage other men to just kind of tap into, just being more understanding and just being real supportive. I think support is
for sure
the best thing you can. If you can't get anything else, just be supportive and be understanding to what's going on. Like I said, and if you need that support for yourself, just try to gather that community if you ever need that support. Because I know I didn't gather that support. Like even like guys like you, Todd, like I didn't have no one that I could reach out to, and
for sure, man,
someone that could relate to what So I think that's the advice I would offer to any of the fellas out there.
Yeah, ask for help.
For sure. And it sounds like there's an undertone too that, like, being meek doesn't mean being weak.
Right.
And that you can be strong and have have restraint. And being strong and having restraint can look like reaching out to somebody and being like, look, dude, I'm strong, but I'm having a hard time.
It's a sign of strength, really.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely it is.
It is. It's a cover up when you just put it on all the time. It's a for sure.
It's just adding pressure to that bottle. It's got a lid on it.
Well, y'all, I know we need to wrap it up and everything, but I just wanted to give y'all a chance if there's anything that you didn't get to say that you really want to before we close it out.
I would just say, to piggyback, support your partners.
For sure.
We would take turns on when I was like, okay, today's gonna be my day you know, feel bad or to have the emotions, and I need you to cover me. And then, you know, switch off. I'm going to cover you. But just remember you're on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Working towards the same goal, because if you take your eyes off and think like you're doing this and that, like, it doesn't work like that, especially when you're married. You're one.
Yeah.
So
I
would say, like you said, lean into each other, ask for help, ask for support, know that you're not alone, and share. You know, sharing for us has opened up so many doors, like even meeting you guys, like just us sharing our journey and knowing that there's other people out there who are going through the same thing. It helps you feel less alone.
Yes.
And so, I think I've said a lot, and just knowing that your journey is not a curse, like it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Come on.
God is faithful even in the hard, you know.
Yeah.
For the glory of God to be revealed. That's what he said when they asked, why is this baby blind? For the glory of God to be revealed. And that's what we get to witness in this journey. It's
we get to see the glory of God revealed in our children. And that, man. Like, I can be more blessed than to have a front row seat to it.
Yes.
For sure. Blessing.
So,
such a blessing.
I do want to plug y'all stuff. We said we were going to do it.
Yeah, let's make sure we do that.
We're going to actually put their social media stuff down in the bottom of this.
We'll
put links to everything. But for those of you who don't know, Ima has a book out.
Yes.
Ima has a book out.
Say that.
If it's real quick, if it's all right, I'd like for you to share a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the book is called Saving My Son, 119 Days of Miracles Behind the NICU Doors. And it really just details our journey of our NICU, you know, stay, what I learned. It's packed with inspiration, encouragement. I think that whether you're in that space of having a premature baby or not, I think that you can get something out of our story because it's faith-filled. So everything that we went through is just showing how good God is, and I think it can it's a testimony. It's
for sure.
It's available on Amazon.
I was going to ask you. Yeah,
it's on Amazon. It's amazing. My little book baby, and then I also have a clothing line, clothing and accessories. It's called Halos and Miracles, and I create, you know, signs and shirts and onesies and sweaters, and I'm wearing one now. It says "Dope Mama."
I love that. Oh my goodness. I love it.
But yeah, it's such it's an amazing small business where you can, you know, shop for yourself or even those who are believing for God to perform a miracle in their own life.
Yeah. Such a good reminder.
Y'all need to go support them. And yes, Marcus too.
I don't have any books.
Not yet. That's right. Not yet.
But I do own a business called Brand Ave Clothing. It is Brand Ave Clothing on Instagram and most socials, Brand Ave Clothing. And what we specialize in is marriage apparel for the wives, brides, husbands, and fiancés and all those good things.
I love it.
People do ask, like, you know, because when I say, I got a clothing line, what'd you do? Marriage apparel. And I always say, you know, like the little wifey shirts you see on Etsy. And it just gives people an idea of what I do, but I'll tell people that what you'll see on Etsy is we do that on steroids.
Yeah.
So we try to be super creative, and I think that's what the customers appreciate is that.
The quality, right?
And the cool factor behind
it. The wow factor, the conversation starting.
I'm gonna get Amanda some slides. I saw the slides. It's like,
we got slides. But I think it's just the designs, the colors, the types of things that we offer. I mean, we've had purses, wallets, and imagine just putting marriage apparel spins into those things.
Yeah.
But I think what people do like about what we're doing is just the creativity. And
of course.
Who doesn't love like going out for, you know, run errands or to an event and have someone say, yo, I love that shirt, you know.
Yeah.
You know?
The motto is love out loud.
Yeah,
so
love out loud.
It's not just wearing like a shirt that says Mrs., but it's, you know, I'm in love with him. Like you're showing your love for your spouse out loud.
Yeah. Which is a big deal for families with special needs.
Yes. I mean, and for families in general. And I love that you guys shared your love story and you shared your journey. And I can see like the heart behind why you would have those businesses and why, you wrote that book. Like these are the things that are near and dear to your heart. And I can feel that so much. I love it.
Yeah. Y'all go spend all your Christmas money.
Yeah. Go buy some gifts.
On their stuff.
Go buy some gifts.
Perfect gift.
Yeah. Guys, we think.
I'm sure you'll like what you see.
Yes.
I know they will. I've been there already. I'm like, man, I'm getting some stuff off this
Todd's
website.
already like looking to get me some stuff. I'm like, okay.
Yep. So, thank y'all so much for your time.
Yes. Thank you
for
being on here. Well, I guess we're going to close it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was our interview with Mark and Ima. And we just had such an awesome time with them.
Yes, we did. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah,
I hope it blesses you.
Please share. Please subscribe, share, subscribe to their channels.
Yes.
Everything. So without further ado, we're Not an Island Podcast. I'm Todd.
I'm Amanda.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you.
You got it.